history is often written by the victors. But what happens when the official story isn't the whole story? Today, we're diving deep into 10 historical facts that were actually elaborate lies, manipulations, or massive misunderstandings. Get ready, because the truth is often stranger and far more interesting than fiction. First up, the famous story of brave Dutch boy who saved his town by plugging a leaking dike with his finger. It's a tale of heroism celebrated for generations. But here's the twist. It never happened. This story wasn't a historical event, but a piece of fiction from an American novel. Hans Brinker, or The Silver Skates, written by Mary Mapes Dodge in 1865. The Dutch people had never even heard of this story until it became popular with American tourists visiting the Netherlands. The tale was intended to teach children about courage and civic duty, but its fictional origins got lost over time. Today, you can even find statues in the Netherlands dedicated to this fictional hero, a testament to how a powerful story can become a cultural landmark, even if it's completely made up. Next, let's talk about Napoleon Bonaparte. Everyone pictures him as a short, angry man. But was he really? The short label was largely a product of British propaganda. During the Napoleonic Wars, British cartoonists relentlessly depicted him as comically small to undermine his powerful image. In reality, Napoleon's height was around 5 feet 7 inches. This was actually average, or even slightly above average, for a Frenchman of his time. The confusion was also fueled by a difference in measurement systems. The French inch was longer than the British inch, so his recorded height in French units sounded shorter when directly translated without conversion. The Napoleon complex myth has persisted for centuries, proving that a well-crafted smear campaign can distort history for a very long time. Now, let's journey to ancient Rome. Did Emperor Nero really fiddle while Rome burned? The image is iconic, a decadent ruler indifferent to his people's suffering. The truth is much more complicated. The Great Fire of Rome in 64 AD was a catastrophic event, and while Nero was emperor, he wasn't even in the city when it started. He was at his villa in Antium. Upon hearing the news, he rushed back to Rome and organized relief efforts, opening his palaces to shelter the homeless and arranging for food supplies. So where did the fiddling story come from? The fiddle, as we know it, didn't even exist yet. The Roman historian Tacitus, who was a child during the fire, wrote about the event decades later. He mentioned rumors that Nero sang and played his lyre during the fire, but he himself was skeptical. Later political enemies, eager to tarnish his legacy, seized upon these rumors and solidified them into fact. The story of Nero's callousness was a powerful piece of political propaganda that has successfully painted him as a monster for 2 millennia. From Rome, we sail to the Viking Age. Those horned helmets are the most recognizable feature of Viking warriors, right? Well, they're pure fantasy. This look was created for a 19th century opera. Wagner's Der Ring des Nibelungen. The costume designer, Karl Emil Doppler, added horns to the helmets to make the characters look more fierce and pagan on stage. Archaeologists have excavated countless Viking graves and settlements, and not a single horned helmet has ever been found. Actual Viking helmets were simple, practical, conical, or rounded caps made of iron or leather, designed for real combat, where horns would be a massive liability, easily grabbed or snagged. The horned helmet is a fun image for sports mascots and fantasy stories, but it has no basis in historical reality. Let's talk about a famous moment in American history: Paul Revere's Midnight Ride. The poem by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow paints a picture of a lone hero riding through the night, shouting, "The British are coming," to awaken the colonists. It's a stirring tale, but it simplifies a much larger, more complex operation. Revere was one of several riders that night, including William Dawes and Samuel Prescott. And he never shouted, "The British are coming," because in 1775, most colonists still considered themselves British. His actual message was a quiet, urgent warning to specific Patriot leaders that the regulars are coming out. Referring to the British regular soldiers, Revere was captured by a British patrol and never even completed his planned route. It was Samuel Prescott who actually made it all the way to Concord to deliver the warning. Longfellow's 1861 poem, written on the eve of the Civil War, was designed to inspire patriotism and unity, and he took significant artistic liberties to create a simple, powerful myth of a single hero. Speaking of American myths, what about George Washington and the cherry tree? The story goes that a young George chopped down his father's prized cherry tree and, when confronted, bravely said, "I cannot tell a lie." It's meant to illustrate his unwavering honesty. This story was invented by one of Washington's earliest biographers, Mason Locke Weems, in his book The Life of Washington, published shortly after Washington's death. Weems admitted he wanted to portray Washington as a role model for young Americans, and he wasn't afraid to invent anecdotes to make his point. There is no historical evidence whatsoever that this event ever occurred. The story was a moral lesson disguised as biography, a piece of fiction that stuck because it perfectly captured the kind of virtue people wanted to see in their founding father. Now, for a more sinister deception. The Protocols of the Elders of Zion is an infamous text that purports to reveal a Jewish plan for global domination. It has been used to justify anti-Semitism and violence for over a century. But it is a complete and utter forgery. The text was fabricated by agents of the Russian secret police in the early 1900s. Its purpose was to blame Jewish people for the political and economic problems in Russia at the time, and to bolster the authority of the struggling Tsarist regime. The Protocols were cobbled together by plagiarizing earlier political satires and fictional works that had nothing to do with Jewish people. Despite being exposed as a fraud as early as 1921 by the Times of London, which traced it back to a French satire, the document's influence has been devastating. It was used by the Nazis as a key part of their propaganda and continues to be circulated by extremist groups today. A chilling example of how a malicious lie can have catastrophic, real-world consequences. Let's turn to the world of science. For nearly 40 years, the Piltdown Man was celebrated as the missing link between apes and humans. Discovered in a gravel pit in Piltdown, England, in 1912 by amateur archaeologist Charles Dawson. The fossil fragments seemed to show a creature with a human-like cranium and an ape-like jaw. It was hailed as a monumental discovery, confirming Britain's place in the story of human evolution. But scientists were always a bit suspicious. The jaw and skull didn't quite fit. It wasn't until 1953, using new dating technology, that the truth was revealed. The Piltdown Man was an elaborate hoax. The skull was from a modern human, the jaw was from an orangutan, and the teeth were from a chimpanzee. They had all been chemically stained to look ancient and filed down to fit together. While the identity of the forger remains a mystery, Charles Dawson is the primary suspect. The hoax was a major embarrassment for the scientific community and a cautionary tale about the dangers of confirmation bias and the desire for a discovery to be true. Next, we address the common belief that people in the Middle Ages thought the world was flat. The image of Christopher Columbus bravely sailing against the warnings of flat earthers is deeply ingrained in our culture. This is another myth, largely popularized in the 19th century by writers like Washington Irving. In reality, educated people in Europe since the time of the ancient Greeks knew the Earth was a sphere. The debate Columbus had with scholars wasn't about the shape of the Earth, but its size. Columbus believed the Earth was much smaller than it actually is, and therefore that he could reach Asia by sailing west. The scholars were correct. His calculations were wrong. He was lucky, in a sense, that an entire continent, the Americas, was in his way. The flat Earth myth was created to portray Columbus as a modern, enlightened man fighting against the ignorance of a dark and superstitious medieval past. Finally, the Great Wall of China. It's often said to be the only man-made object visible from the moon. This fact has been repeated so many times, it's become common knowledge. Unfortunately, it's not true. The claim seems to have originated in the 1930s, long before anyone had been to space to verify it. From low Earth orbit, some astronauts have reported being able to see it, but only under perfect conditions, and when they knew exactly where to look. From the moon, it's absolutely impossible. The wall, though incredibly long, is only about 20 to 30 feet wide. Seeing it from the moon would be like seeing a single human hair from 2 miles away. Even the Apollo astronauts confirmed they could see continents and weather patterns, but no man-made structures at all. The myth persists because it captures the sheer scale and magnificence of the Great Wall, a testament to its power as a symbol, even if the fact itself is pure fiction. From heroic myths to malicious forgeries, history is filled with stories that aren't what they seem. Uncovering the truth reminds us to always question the narratives we're given and to look deeper. Thanks for joining me on this journey through the hidden corners of our past. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more historical deep dives.